Taking of hard drugs is very dangerous. How do I get rid of it? Is it possible for me to stop taking drugs? So many of them started taking drugs because of bad association. So many of them started taking drugs because of frustrations. So many of them started taking drugs because they saw people taking it on social media and they liked the actions that follows, and they said, let me go and test it. In that process, they started taking it. The thing becomes the part of them. So many of them started taking drugs because they were forced to do so. So many of them started taking drugs because of hard labor or what they're about to feel, because people misinform them, people deceive them that when you take these drugs, you will perform well when you're about to do a hard job. So many people who are addicted to drugs don't have their own personal power to get rid of it. So many of them are frustrated. So many of them really want to get out of it, but they can't find help from anywhere. So many of them in this process have believed that taking drugs is not something they can get rid of. But is that the truth? Today, I want to share with you a video, a hilarious testimony of a friend, how he gets rid of drugs. It is possible to get out of this frustrated syndrome called drug abuse, taking of hard drugs. So many people have died because of hard drugs. So many accidents that we see in the way, on the highway, is because of people who have taken drugs, who have taken alcoholic content. When they start driving, they can't control themselves. It is obvious, and everyone knows, that taking drugs is something that can control our hearts, can control our brain, can control everything that we do. When you start taking drugs, automatically you don't have a full control of yourself. So many things have gone wrong because of drug abuse. I want to share this video with you. Stay with me. I'll be right back after this video.
I would constantly be looking for something to put in my system. I never wanted to be sober. I was saved and baptized when I was 6. I was raised in a Christian home. I went to a Christian school. I went to a great church all my life. I wasn't truly giving Jesus the rest of my life, and I should have. After high school, I kind of just went through the gig. I had plans to go into the United States Navy, and I did. I enlisted. I went into the Navy. I had a great job. I was beginning training for a great job in the Navy, and pretty much a guarantee of a great job afterwards as well. Being on base, I got really lonely, got extremely depressed. I had friends, I could call family. It wasn't a matter of lack of people, it was rather a lack of my relationship suffering with God. And so as soon as the influence of Satan crept in, it just went downhill from there. I turned to alcohol, turned to drugs. And believe it or not, there's plenty of that in the military. Because of that, and because of many bad decisions, I eventually got kicked out of the Navy. So the last days in the Navy were some of the worst of my life. As I said, I was depressed, I was lonely. I would constantly be looking for something to put in my system. I never wanted to be sober. I never wanted to be thinking clearly, pretty much. I always wanted to have something, and I would find any way to do it, whether it was drugs, alcohol. I got back home, and I thought that I was happy. I thought that it would help. I thought that the loneliness would leave. I was back with family. I was back with a couple of friends that I had, and I thought that everything would be better. I was wrong, and the depression set in again. I was still lonely. I still turned to drugs. I turned to harder drugs than the Navy. I turned to worse things. So things got worse before they got better. They got really bad. I had many terrible encounters with drugs, people. During one extremely miserable encounter with drugs, I was laying in my room after the weekend got done, and I was just laying in my room recovering, and I felt miserable. It was pretty much the end of the line. So I kind of put away the harder drugs after that. I knew that I shouldn't have any part of them. I knew that I should not be involved in things like that, be involved with people like that. I soon turned to marijuana. It was much chiller. It allowed me to not be sober, but at the same time I wasn't influenced with all these just dark thoughts. And the Lord led a much needed friend into my life who currently at the same time was living in sin as well. He went to a local church. He soon invited me to church. When I heard church, I got a good feeling. I was just kind of like, man, it's been a while. I would love to go to church. I came to Hungry Generation, and it was, from the first service, it was great. The worship was powerful. The preaching was powerful. The people were powerful. And you can tell that the presence of God is in this church. And Pastor said something that really just touched my heart. He said, God cannot bless what's not in his hands. And so from that moment on, I just kind of, the whole thing with the marijuana, the whole thing with how the rest of my life was going, I just kind of said, God, you have my life. I place my addictions in your hands. I place my future in your hands. Your will be done. Ever since giving my life to Christ, ever since just kind of rededicating, making a clear image of where the rest of my life is going, things has changed. I don't smoke marijuana. I don't smoke cigarettes. I've quit drinking. It's so much better living sober. I thank God for what he's done in my life. I thank him that his timing was perfect. My name's Taylor Finch, and this is my testimony.
Yes, it is possible to stop taking hard drugs. It is very, very possible. Thank you for having time to watch this video. On my next video, I will be talking about substitution, the way to get rid of taking of hard drugs. So many people cannot help themselves, but I assure you, the best thing you can do is to substitute that urge with another thing, and I'll be telling you on how and why you should do it. Thank you so much for having time to listen to the video.